Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jams, Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Busel mu fine.
What?
Busel mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Busel mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.
On Wednesday, the 24th of September 2025, you're with Coffee Time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. Thanks for tuning in. Joining us now is Musa Ba. He's a teacher, he's a writer, he's an activist, he's a commentator, and the sharp mind behind the Scribbler. Known for his fearless commentary and evocative prose, Musa has become a vital voice in unpacking the pulse of Gambian society. From the recent street protests to the controversial removal of the Auditor General, he's here now to help us dissect some of the tensions, the truths, and the turning points shaping our national discourse. Welcome, Musa.
Thank you, Peter.
I'm shocked, actually, to learn that this is your first in-person visit.
Yes, indeed. As far as the new building is concerned, this is the first in-person.
Thank you very much for coming. And just before we go into, what's dominating the headlines in terms of politics and all of that, one headline in the Standard this morning, Amir Tarawale and others in Work for Humanity. You do a lot of work with the Ahmadiyya in this country. What's this about?
It's about celebrating Humanity First. It's a branch of the Ahmadiyya community founded some 15 years ago, 25 years ago actually, by the then successor to the founder called the Khalifa, focused entirely on serving humanity. And they do work on helping people who are in need, and they go to war zones, help in the third world countries like the Gambia. They provide educational services, they provide health assistance, they provide water for life. Where water is unavailable in some villages, they dig boreholes and provide electricity in some instances. So they were celebrating the existence, the marking of a milestone for that, because it is entirely non-religious. The Ahmadiyya community as a religious movement has nothing to do when it comes to the operations and running of Humanity First. It is entirely charitable organization. It is registered in the United Kingdom and in the Gambia.
Oh, fantastic.
In fact, they have been recognized by the UN. Also, they have a seat there.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, okay. Let's, as they say, look at some of the recent talking points. The gala protests first against, the opaque nature of the sale of Jame assets, according to them. Then we had the Pura data price floor, and most recently, the removal of the Auditor General. I mean, what do you read into all this?
Two things. Firstly, is that there seems to be an awakening among the young people in the country when it comes to politics and when it comes to the day-to-day running of their lives, because that is what politics is all about. But also, I see that there is progress in terms of the freedom of the people, in terms of the ability of people to express their thoughts, their feelings, whether they are happy or not. So it shows that we are moving forward, because today, as we speak, people, especially the young, are prone to go out and protest, show their displeasure or dissatisfaction about things. I think that is progress.
Mm-hmm. And how about, police intervention?
Yes, the police intervention. In that area also, I think a lot needs to be done in terms of training, in terms of professional way of handling of crowds, of how the police should respond when there are issues with the public, especially the young people coming out. I think there's a lot of work to be done in that area, in policing.
What role do you think civil society should play in holding the government accountable, especially, amid reports of, protest restrictions? Not always do young people, get the permission to go out there and demonstrate.
Yes, you see, I think the Gambia, we from the get-go, there is something that we have always lacked, in my opinion, and that is a sense of unionism. If you look at other countries, like Senegal, for example, there's a strong sense of unionism. So when a section of society is dissatisfied about a thing, and they want to go out and protest, they go en masse. So it's not like a few go and a few remain. So they have this idea of all of them, all of us, or none at all. So, but in the Gambia, a cross-section of society will be complaining about something to an extent of even protesting, but the rest will hold back. So that is something that I think we need to work on. We like speaking with one voice. That is the bottom line. We have to speak with one voice.
Is that what unionism would do?
Yes, basically, because if let me give an example. A few years ago, there was this issue with the drivers, taxis, commercial drivers, and they wanted to go on strike, and many of them, of course, did not go out because they said they are sitting home to see how the government and the people will react. But maybe more than half went out anyway and started working. So in the long run, it did not have an impact, because if a few are sitting and the rest are doing the work, then it doesn't have any benefits. Basically, what I am saying is that it is true that not everyone can agree to something. But if there is a national call, if there's a purpose which is justified, and people want to protest, by protest I don't mean only marching in the streets. There are so many ways of protest. Now, it should be something that is, the ownership is taken by the people. So everyone goes out there, if it is to talk, if it is to write, if it is to sit at home, so that the impact will be felt and solutions will be faster. In all of that is saying, su fuka di gas, fuka di sul, dafa yaga rek way pahadu am. So that is the scenario that we have. If 50 or 100 are pulling in one direction and the rest are pulling in the other direction, it will just reach a breaking point, but a solution will not be found.
So you didn't go out to protest, but let me ask your position on some of the issues, Gala is demonstrating against. Let's start with the Jame asset sale.
Yeah, of course, the Jame asset sales, there is disappointment there. What people were expecting is not what ended up coming out. Now, when the Republic revealed those things that happened, it was a disappointing realization that these assets, which most Gambians, if not many Gambians, if not most, considered to be assets that are stolen from the national coffers by someone, and then he is
by Yaya Jammeh.
Yes. Now, and then he is removed, and we want to recover these assets, and a commission is set up to look into it. And then that same commission and the people who are working with it went ahead and did exactly what Jammeh is accused of. That is a disappointing realization. Obviously, that is something that Gambians, especially the young, have the right to be angry about. It is something to be angry about because this belongs to all of us. So obviously, one could understand why the frustration of the young people, especially, to go out and say, "What we have to talk about this. We have to know where our assets went, and if anyone is found wanting, then they have to be made to pay back. Recover those assets and use them for national development."
Okay.
Yeah.
About the pure data price.
Yeah. On that, you see, I agree generally with the call for there to be easy access or accessible internet, and that the young people showed that they were not happy. But I think the protests lack some form of coordination, like direction. You cannot be everywhere. If a doctor's, I want to give one example of these marabouts or native doctors, they call them, or they make advertisements.
Yes.
They advertise about someone and list all illnesses and say they can cure it. That in itself gives you, you start having two minds. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot be a doctor and claim to be able to treat or cure all illnesses. That's not possible. You specialize in something. So I think that is the problem with Gala, as far as I'm concerned. They cannot be everywhere. They have to have a focus. Of course, it doesn't mean that one thing is more important than the other. But do they have to be the ones who will protest everything? That is the problem. So if you are everywhere, you are spreading your thin, and your effect will be minimized. I think that is something that they need to look at.
Mm-hmm. And what about the situation with the National Audit Office?
Yeah. There, I think also, I think people take it to a level where I see that there are some loopholes, some problems in the narrative. For example, one of the things people, in fact, it's a contradiction. They keep saying that the government wants to remove CICE because they want to cover something, they want to bury something. The next moment, they will be talking about institutions, how strong institutions should be. But if there is institutions that are strong, then the removal of one person should not compromise the work of the entire institution, right? Because the audit office is not about one person. Now, there may be some complications here and there. But then when we are told that CICE went to the presidency and he accepted, now I'm not a lawyer, I have no idea what law is about, but there is something that I have heard lawyers talk about, this unwritten agreement, which is equally binding like a written contract. If the auditor goes to the presidency and accepts virtually, that means that from that moment on, in the eyes of the president at least, the office is vacant. So if now he appoints another person and that person accepts, so later, if the auditor changes his mind and does not want to take up the ministerial position, it becomes a problem because his going back there will mean also the one who was appointed has to be sacked. But what has that man done? So, there are very complicated issues. I think people need to be more objective when they make analysis and look at all this, all the angles.
So there hasn't been objectivity, in the way.
Yeah, in way some of the people.
It's slanted in favor of who? The president or Modou Cissé?
Mostly in favor of Modou Cissé. As far as the online version goes, because that is another thing that people need to consider. Not all Gambians are online. there's a vast majority who do not have access to online this thing. So what goes on online is mostly people in the urban areas, or at least let's say people who are literate. Yes. So the rest, there's a silent majority, so to speak. They have no say in this. So I can say it went Modou Cissé's way most of the time. But sometimes I think it is something that people need to consider also.
Okay. Well, long before the issue of, Jammeh's asset sale protests and the Pura data price floor and Modou Cissé, Gambians were grappling with the issue of a rising cost of living.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't stopped.
That's right.
It's been going up and up and up. What bold economic reforms would you recommend to ease the burden on ordinary Gambians like you and me? I suppose you're feeling the pinch, aren't you?
Indeed. More so. I think, my view on most of these things has always been one thing, and that is on our education system. That is what I think, because my whole life and perception is formed by education. No, I think our education should be such that people, when they complete schooling, when they go to school, they learn trade, they learn skills, they learn the importance of self-dependence. With that, if we produce more people in the education sector who believe in self-dependence, who believe in skills, who believe in doing things for yourself, then I think we can move the agriculture sector towards producing whatever we need. And that, in my view, is how we will tackle the rising cost of living and rising prices of anything, actually. So that has always been my view. Are
you suggesting we should all be, involved in agriculture somehow?
Yeah, yes. Why not? Why not? I think if our education equips the people with the right knowledge, with the right skills to go into agriculture, then I think we can cut down the cost of living. That is what I think. And I told you about a program that I have, and it's focused on education. It's on MTA, and it's driven by that skills. My first guest was Professor Gomez, the Minister of Higher Education, and then I had a few others like the Permanent Secretary, MOPSI, and some other experts in the country. I think that is very important. Skills, not only on agriculture, but all other sectors. Let us produce people who can do the things that we need. We do not have to go outside. Most of the time, if any little thing happens, we have to go to Senegal, we have to go to Nigeria, we have to go to Ghana to bring people, to experts, and we pay them a lot of money. If we could produce people, Gambians, who can do that, then that will go a long way in reducing the cost of living.
Mm-hmm. I asked about, what economic reforms might be introduced to ease the burden on us ordinary Gambians. I mean, you have explained or discussed what we can do, all right, to probably, ease the burden on us. But from a government point of view, what economic reforms, would you suggest to them?
Yeah, I think, of course, what I said has to be spearheaded by the government, that is the education, but also invest more in the youth in terms of helping people who are interested in agriculture, get up and have the resources to be able to start something which can be beneficial. Of course, I know that there are a few initiatives here and there, but it should be more widespread, and focus on mostly the rural folks. Give them the ability to go into agriculture, commercial agriculture, not only substantial agriculture, but give them the ability to, say, invest a lot in the production of rice, production of millet, and other things. I think that will help. Sometimes The other time I was at Barra waiting for the ferry, and I saw these trucks coming from Senegal with vegetables, onions, and other things. And I said to myself, all these things could be produced in the Gambia. Why do we have to, rely on Senegal or any other country for onions, for, these ordinary vegetables that we use daily? But then you see young people sitting down not doing anything, and there's no job,
Well, for civil servants and pensioners, government will argue that they have done something.
Yes.
They have enjoyed, pay rises recently. What would you say? Is that only symbolic?
No. In the grand scheme of things, it could be termed as symbolic, because if you increase the salary, but then at the same time, cost of living is increasing, it's like you're just trying to bury a hole which is constantly deepening. So I think investing more in the production sector, especially agriculture, is the right thing to do. That is what will help the prices go down or stabilize, so that people will be able to afford the things that they need. And then you can talk about increasing salaries. But if you increase salaries and the cost of living is also increasing, it's just symbolic.
You write about transitional justice and human rights issues in this country. You would know also about Donald Trump and some of the punitive measures, he's taken in the name of America First, but then, of course, harmful to aid-dependent countries like ours. The decision to literally kill off USAID, of course, we know is impacting us. What are the implications on our transitional justice and human rights efforts?
Firstly, it could be detrimental. It is detrimental on the surface.
Oh,
but,
only on the surface?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you think about it deeply, you could see that it is a blessing in disguise, in a way, because it should be able to push us to be more self-reliant. Try to be more self-reliant in most of these things. This is what I was talking about. You see, in the Gambia, or let me say Africa wider, we depend too much on what we can get from the US, what we can get from the EU. But if we could look within and work harder, manage better, then I think a decision like the one that Donald Trump made would not have been felt as badly as it has, even not only in that area, but even in the health sector, So, of course, it will affect the transitional justice. It will affect a lot of things that were all currently going on, but it should push us to be more self-reliant, work harder, harness what we have, and then move forward.
Well,
that is what I think.
Speaking of transitional justice and all of that, TRRC, of course, stands out. Do you see a risk that, because of these aid cuts, the TRRC and Reparation Commission's recommendation, may be abandoned, will be abandoned due to funding gaps?
Well, certain aspects of it may be abandoned, or at least put in the back burner, so to speak. But still, I don't think it will destroy the whole work or recommendations of the TRRC. I think government should and can really mobilize locally to an extent to ensure that these things are implemented for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of democracy and development. Although, it will be difficult. It will be difficult. But a lot of things can be done also.
And what do you make of, accusations against the government that it's dragging its feet over the TRRC recommendations, implementing them?
Yeah, Peter, basically, we all know that man is selfish So human beings are selfish. What I mean by that is that most of the time, human beings think about themselves first. What happens to me? So if you broaden that to the political spectrum, the government, the president, will always think about what is in it for him. How does it benefit him? How does it further his agenda? So that can affect...
Only his agenda or, his tenure?
Yeah, exactly, including the tenure. That can affect certain things because political considerations. So when certain things are implemented, it may affect the way people view him, especially a certain section of society. So in all areas. So that is always a problem. But that is why using the people, giving ownership to the people is important. Because if the people take ownership of these issues, then it will not be only one person or a few people who will want to see that certain recommendations are implemented. So that is a problem. It is a thin line that governments have to walk. And I don't believe that government does not want to fulfill these recommendations, but it is not easy because it's not a one-person thing. So it's a whole chain. So if any weakness in one aspect of the chain affect the entire thing. So, but the blame always goes to the head. So everyone will say, borrow this, borrow that, but it cannot all be blamed on Barrow. Yeah.
Okay, so you think he might be dragging his feet because he's worried that if he goes on to implement everything, then that might affect his electability.
Exactly.
So let's talk about
Exactly.
2026 and what you think the key factors could be next year.
Well,
I mean, as far as the presidential
the
election
presidential election
is
is
concerned.
The presidential election, I think if people really wanted or want to change the government, then one of the things that I think should have been done or should be done is that there should be a coalition, parties coming together.
Opposition unity.
Yeah, and that is becoming less likely every day as we see things transpire in this country.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, well, if the main opposition party in the country, which is the UDP, is in the state that it is in, so it's hard to see how it will mobilize or someone can mobilize the UDP and other parties to come together to fill in one candidate. It becomes more complicated every day. And without that, everyone can be assured that, well, it will be an easy ride for Barrow. That is what I believe. Without the coalition, I don't believe we can remove Barrow from here.
Okay, so opposition unity will be a key factor.
Yeah.
Unless the opposition
Coalesces,
yes. They form a coalition, they don't have a chance.
No, they don't.
What about youth mobilization with all the protests that we are seeing? Youths are appearing angrier, even though my good friend Modu Sabali insists
that
the youths are happy.
That's an interesting point. Especially, I have seen some people draw attention to what happened in Senegal, youth mobilization. But that has problems also as far as our case is concerned. Because in the Gambia, we perhaps need one person who is strong enough to mobilize and gather the youths around him for something like that to happen. But then let us look at the case that there was hope. In fact, I have heard some people say this, that Gala could have propelled someone to come up and say, okay, I want to use this energy of the youth to have a change of government. But then recently we have seen some very, challenging times for Gala when
they face their own transparency
problems.
Challenges, yes.
So many people said, well, Gala is no longer what we expected, what we hoped will happen. So that could have been one way of changing government if that is what Gambians want. But not as it is. The situation as it is now, there's no hope for that. Because we don't have the base for that to happen. So a lot of work needs to be done.
What about online activism and community organizing? Don't you think that could be powerful enough to shift the political landscape in the country?
Yeah, but there's a mismatch. Most people focus only on online, but it does not filter to the grassroots. When you go to the provinces, for example, most people, they follow radio, they listen to radio. They don't have, they have WhatsApp, but the connection is not as strong as it should be. And most people think that what they see online on Facebook and Twitter is what everything is. But that is not the case, because majority of the Gambian people are not on those. They are not on those platforms. Radio, I think, still remains the most transformative, instrument as far as the people of the rural areas are concerned. People, if you go to the provinces in the Gambia, people listen to radio. Most of the people,
as you say, that's all they have. They don't have access
they don't have else,
to data
else.
and online platforms
Exactly.
as we do in the Greater Banjul area. Maybe we should do more work promoting these platforms out there.
Exactly.
You mentioned Senegal, and the political change there. What lessons can the Gambia learn from political shifts in the sub-region in countries like Senegal, for instance?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Gambia can learn from Senegal, especially in the area of politics, is exactly what we talked about, the youth. But having someone who is charismatic enough, who is sincere and honest enough, has the integrity to gather the people around them, and be determined, focused, and fearless. That is what happened in Senegal. Someone who, no matter what they did, no matter what the opponents did, they could not fault him to an extent of, destroying his base. That is the only way. But if we have movements like the problem that happened with Gala and others, then it will be difficult. So we should learn to come together, especially the young people, and say this is what we want for our country. And of course it has to come with sacrifices, sacrificing a lot. You don't have to sacrifice your time, you have to sacrifice financial gain and so many things to stand there and say that this thing will happen, and you have people who agree with you, and then it moves.
And just finally, do you think that the Gambia is moving forward democratically, or as the opposition alleges, we are regressing? I think under President Barrow's leadership.
I think we are moving. We are moving.
What would you point to say, well, we are moving?
One of the things, one important aspect is the ability for the people to hold government accountable. Look, when this Janneh Commission issue came up, when the young people came out, Gala, the government was compelled to get out, come out and say what people wanted to hear, and start some processes of making sure that those wrongs are corrected. So that is indication that we are moving forward. But Peter, before we go, there's something that I want to mention.
Very quickly, 2 minutes.
Yes, I have, this is a very important issue for me. I have one teacher in my school. He's born in Ghana Town. Now, government has announced that they are going to audit civil servants,
yes.
And he went in to renew his ID card, and he cannot get his ID card because they said that those people from Ghana Town should not get ID card. And these people are born here. So they said Jawara gave them ID cards at the time. Now Jammeh also gave them, but in Barrow's time, they can't have access to ID card. For the past year or so, we have been struggling for this guy to get ID card. He's my mathematics teacher. These are people who are born and brought up here. They're schooled here, and they are working here.
So what's your message for the authorities?
I think they should look into it. This issue of statelessness is becoming a big problem around the world, and I think something needs to be done about it. It is, I think, unfair for people like that.
Well, we wish him luck. The authorities are listening, and I hope they'll do something about it.
I hope so too.
Musa, thank you.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, Suway.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mënulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine. Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.